I hope I don't look, you know, bad. Okay, hello my friends. Welcome to my 30-day challenge. I'm in my parents' car right now because I am avoiding talking to a camera in front of people I know. That's very weak of me, I know, but whatever. That's just who I am. I'm a weak person when it comes to being embarrassed. Yeah, so I had to like put the seatbelt on my camera and tripod because my car wouldn't stop beeping until I did. So that's cool. So yeah, my 30-day challenge is just where I, you know, try and get into the YouTube group because I'm like not great at talking to a camera yet. It's like hot in here. I want to talk about dating apps because basically they are terrible. You know what I mean? Dating apps are terrible. This always comes as like some sort of surprise to me when I log back on the apps and like, why do I ever think it's a good idea? Last year I was in a really negative relationship that I like could not get out of for, I don't know, complicated reasons. Go figure, I met him on a dating app. While I was in this terrible relationship, I was like, oh my god, like, to get through this, I'm just gonna imagine the single life. Like, I'll get an app and then I'll have conversations with all of these people. Like, I'll have access to like all of these beautiful people who I can try and date and like see if we get along. And then I like download the dating app and it ends up being a huge disappointment. So when quarantine started, I downloaded OkCupid, Hinge, and Tinder, and they have all been horrible, major buzzkills. I don't know why I thought that they would be like good, but let me just tell you about them. So OkCupid, I did not last on there for more than like 12 hours, and so I feel like when I was like 22, there were a lot more people. There were just like a lot more people. I'm 24 now, and I feel like a lot of guys on OkCupid just put it so that like if you're over the age of like 22, 23 and you're a woman, they don't want you anymore, because like the only people I was getting on my suggested were people who are like 28 years old and up, and I was just like, why? Like, are people my own age just not looking to date 24-year-olds? And if so, why not? I'm like a much better date than I was at 22. Let me just say that. Like, if you could even get me to show up for a date at 22. But so I noticed that on OkCupid there were no people who were my actual age or like within 2 years of my age, which was kind of strange. And so I moved on to Tinder, and I guess the good thing about Tinder is there are a lot of people on it. Like, it's the OG dating app, so everyone has it, but like I feel like I have the most experiences with Tinder, and I also have the worst experiences with Tinder. So when I first got Tinder at the beginning of quarantine, I was like, this is gonna be great. Like, I don't have to actually meet up with them for a date. Which is my biggest qualm with using a dating app, is that people think you actually want to like go on a date with them, but I really just like it to explore what people exist and stuff like that. But I'm always like really disappointed, so I went into quarantine dating apps being like, this is perfect for me because I don't have to date any of them ever, and that's great. And I have a great excuse, which is like, I'm worried about getting the coronavirus. So I downloaded Tinder and I swiped for a while, and I actually started talking to people because I was like, I don't have any friends, I don't have anyone to talk to, and the fact is, this is like a very low commitment conversation. Like, yeah, maybe we could FaceTime, but you don't have to go through the awkwardness of going on a date with them, which is phenomenal. So I started talking to people, and I noticed what I always notice, which is that like no one knows what to say to each other, which is to be expected because it's like you're on a dating app and you're trying to be both interesting but also not too eager, and you always want to like have the upper hand. So then eventually I started doing the thing that I always do, which is like kind of intrigue people, get them on the hook. And so my question was, what's your fatal flaw? And eventually I got someone who was interested in talking to me based on this, and I was like, great, maybe we have something in common, because he's not like creeped out by my question, what's your fatal flaw? And he was like, oh, that's a great question, blah, 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 what's yours? And I was like, oh my god, he wants to ask me about myself. This is perfect. Maybe I'll even FaceTime with him at some point. And we end up talking for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours, and it's nice. And, you know, we seemingly have a lot to say to each other. He's like pretty interesting. He worked at an airport like as an engineer, which was cool, and his sleeping schedule was a little bit weird, but like he was still willing to accommodate me in my like normal diurnal schedule. That means daytime dweller, by the way, opposite of nocturnal. So he was nocturnal, but I was like, he seems cool. I'll hang out with him. I want to talk to him. But he started to suggest that maybe we meet up and go for a walk or something. And I was like, I don't know, even if it's socially distanced, I don't really want to go for a walk with you, because then you would have to see me in real life. And what if you're disappointed? Because like, I know how to take a good selfie, but I don't think that I look really good in real life, and you want to see me like during the day. I don't know. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe, but like, let's FaceTime first. And so he was like, yeah, for sure, for sure. And we set up a time to FaceTime, and it goes okay, but I can already feel the sense of falseness creeping in. Like, a lot of times on dating apps, when you... I hope that you can still see me okay. I'm getting really dewy in here. It's hot. It's so hot in here. Something that happens, I feel like, kind of a lot on dating apps is you start out with this jokey tone, and then, oh my god, so hot out. I had to open the door. I hope that's not too distracting, but like, it's I'll just fan myself off with this copy of Damn You Autocorrect. As I was saying, I don't know if you've experienced this, but like, sometimes on dating apps, you start out with having this jokey tone when you're having a conversation, but then like, it's kind of hard to sustain that tone of conversation for like every single conversation you have with someone, but it's really hard to transition to something more honest and serious when you have never met a person. On this FaceTime call, basically what we were doing was having this joking conversation, but it felt kind of impossible to joke around and be funny, because when you're forcing it, it just like, it's not funny when you're forcing it, and it's not fun when you're forcing it. So I really was not super enjoying the FaceTime conversation, but because we had had such a good conversation over text, like the first time we talked, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and see how this goes. But then it started to get like kind of weird, because he would like I said, he was nocturnal because he worked the night shift at an airport, and basically he would go home at 6 or 7 in the morning from his night shift, and then he would have like 2 beers, and then around 8 or 9 I would wake up, and I would wake up to a text from him, and he would be like, hey, do you want to talk on FaceTime? And I'd be like, I'm not sure about that. Like, oh no, there are people coming. Fuck. Okay. But I'd be like, I don't know, I'm not sure about that. Like, I am not made up and I feel kind of weird. And he'd be like, oh no, it's okay. Like, I don't care how you look. I would be like, well, I kind of care how I look, so I'm gonna pass on that. And he would be like, oh, it's totally fine. And I'd be like, okay, this guy seems okay, because he's respecting the fact that I don't want to talk to him in the morning. I don't want to talk to him before I have like had my morning coffee. Oh my god, these fucking people are walking by right now. they look like they're in high school, so. Hey guys. No, yeah, so, right. So I was like impressed by the fact that he was okay with me saying no to him, which, you know, tells you a bit about my standards, huh? Some days pass and we keep talking. Sometimes we FaceTime if the circumstances permit. And then eventually one night he is like, hey, I'm like having a normal night at home. I don't have a shift tonight. Let's FaceTime. But it was like, I have a pretty strict I get ready before 1 a.m. thing. Like, I like to have my makeup off before 1 a.m. and I like to have my lights off even if I'm still watching YouTube or whatever. And so I was like, I guess we can FaceTime, but like, let's only do voice chat because I already turned off my light and I like don't want to have to walk across my floor, which has broken glass on it, to like talk to you. And he was like, okay. And then he gets on FaceTime and he's obviously like drunk. Like he's probably 4 beers in and he's having another. And I'm like, okay, let's see what kind of a drunk you are. And he starts talking and he's just like, he's slurring. He's like not engaging in conversation with me in a very interesting way. He's just kind of like, you know, yeah, like, I feel like you think I'm mean. Did I offend you? I feel like you thought I'm mean after our FaceTime call. And I'm like, no, I didn't think you were mean, but like, this is a little weird. But he was like, I think you think I'm mean. And I was like, I don't think you're mean, but I do think you are being weird right now. And also, I really want to go to bed soon because I'm tired as fuck and I like owe you nothing. But I didn't say that. And he like he like puts the phone down on his face so it's like resting right here and I can see like part of his eye revealed by the camera and I'm just like, what is going on right now? He's like slurring and he's like, do you have any like hot friends? And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. He was like, yeah, could I trade you in for one of your hot friends? And then I was like, what the fuck? And then he proceeded to fall asleep with the phone on his face and I hung up on him, obviously. 3 hours later, he definitely woke up and was like, oh my god, what happened? And texted me, but I just like, I don't know, this is maybe mean, but I did ghost him. I just like didn't know what to say to him. I was like, dude, you asked if I had friends who were hotter than me who he could trade me in for. Like, I'm not going to respond to you. And so after that, I was kind of like, I cannot do this Tinder thing anymore. Unfortunately, I was already talking. Can you see how sweaty I am right now? It's like, I smell like really bad right now. So after that, I like took a break from Tinder because he was a big disappointment. But I also have Hinge. Hinge is one of those apps that like keeps you coming back by recommending a most compatible every day, and sometimes you might be feeling a little bit lonely and you end up feeling like, you know, maybe I should click on this most compatible today and see if they're my soulmate. And it always ends up being disappointing. I had one of those days like 2 weeks ago where I clicked on my most compatible and his name was, let's call him Kevin. His name isn't actually Kevin, but he had a K name, like a suitably douchey K name. He started out the conversation very well. On Hinge, they have these like prompts for you to say something about yourself or like say something funny or tell a funny anecdote or something. So one of them is like, you should message me if, and I said, if you look like a forest sprite or if you remind me of a forest sprite. And he said, I'm more of a mountain sprite, if that's okay. And we had like a little flirtatious thing going for a second. And I was like, he seems actually like kind of a promising person. And then, you know, we, as you do, we move out of the more like witty banter form of conversation into the more like getting to know you territory. And he basically went on to talk about how he's an art collector and how he's like very into the mountains and what his upcoming plans are and all of his interests in life. I don't know, like all that stuff. I would ask him questions about the things that he would say and leave a tidbit about myself. So if he would say like, oh yeah, I'm really into like mountains, I'd be like, oh, that's cool, like that's my favorite landscape. Do you have a favorite mountain range? And he would just ignore anything I said about myself and instead just go into great detail about whatever that thing was in relation to him. And it just felt like he was trying to flex on me and be like, look how attractive I am. Like, I'm so attractive and I also have interests. But he was neglecting the fact that like a relationship is supposed to be a two-way street. There has to be a dynamic there. It can't just be him talking at me about himself. If he wants to do that, he should make a YouTube channel. By the way, I tried to mention that I like make videos to him and he didn't say anything. And I was just like, okay, if someone says, yeah, I make videos, don't say nothing and then go on about how tragic you think the wildfires in California are, because yes, they are tragic. But don't you want to know something about the person you're trying to court? Like, it's not about trying to get my attention, and it's about trying to see if we have a dynamic. And so, yeah, I did ghost him. Whoops. And I know that some people will probably think that's mean, but I just don't think that I need to explicitly say something like, I think you're boring and narcissistic. And the thing is, he's probably not. He seems like he is a very socially conscious person in terms of like, I don't know, he cares about all of the causes you're supposed to care about, but it just makes him seem really self-involved and like he's only bringing that stuff up to virtue signal. So yeah, that was a disappointment. And coming straight out of that disappointing exchange, I started talking to another person and he seemed actually funny. And then he started doing the exact same thing where he only talks about himself, asks me no questions. Like, I am not here to ask you, to prompt you to tell me about yourself. If you're not interested in hearing me talk about myself, like, I am very okay with listening to other people. I think it's cool to hear people's life stories and what impassions them and all that stuff, but like, if I have to hear one more time about your dumb job or the musical project that you would never include me in, or that artistic pursuit that you think that I know nothing about, do not bother talking to me. I don't want to talk to someone who like doesn't think I am a person with layers and texture to their personality. Like, it seems like they want me to be a supporting character in their film. And like, I get that the way I present myself on social media or on dating apps is like kind of memeable. Like, I like to make jokes and I like to present myself in an eccentric way, and I like to say things that are lighthearted and witty, but that does not mean that I don't have interests of my own, and it doesn't mean that I don't have career aspirations or goals. It does not mean that I do all of those things just to make a point or just to be exhibitionistic. It means that there's probably a reason I'm doing that, and maybe they're not giving me a chance to talk about it. And it's just like really annoying. Like, every time I go on the apps, I'm like, why did I ever think that this was going to be okay? Every person I've ever met from a dating app has ended up being some kind of batshit. Like, they've always had something about them that's been like really questionable. And the thing is, people are getting smarter about it. Like, if someone knows that they're kind of controlling, they will cover it up by saying like, oh, like, I want to talk to you on the phone, but if that's not okay with you, like, that's totally cool. But then they end up being the ones who it's not cool with, and who, like, keep tallies of the number of times that you haven't wanted to talk to them when they want to talk to you. And so you have to, like, get smarter. Like, you have to evolve. It's basically like, these people on dating apps are the virus. And I'm like, what is my virus? It's probably that I ghost people who don't want to ask me any questions about myself. And a lot of people, like, a lot of these narcissistic little bitches, they do get mad at you for not wanting to talk to them after they only want to talk about themselves. But I do not have to tell you that. Like, it is not my responsibility to tell you, hey, the reason I don't want to talk to you is because you seem toxic. I don't want to have to emotionally invest in you, and then 2 years down the line find out that you're, like, really manipulative and controlling and only were using me as a, like, a character in your story that you're, like, that you're starring in. Like, we are not in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I am not that Clementine. Well, actually, I am that Clementine, because she had the same issue, but that's funny, actually. This is not a movie. We are not in a movie. I am not a manic pixie dream girl. I have had so many people be like, wow, you're such a manic pixie dream girl, and I'm like, no, I am not. I've not been manic once in my life. I'm more like a depressive, like, goblin nightmare woman. I burped. I just burped. And I guess I've said kind of what I needed to say. Like, social media is a little bitch, and this was not scripted, obviously. I just have some frustrations about the way that people act to each other. We're treating each other like competitors and like people to one up and impress rather than people to actually build connections with, and that just does not fly with me. I don't think I can do dating apps. I tried to apply to work at a dating app. I tried to apply to work at 3 dating apps, and I actually wrote them love letters as my cover letter, and not a one of them responded to me. I'm salty about the whole dating app phenomenon. I don't know. It's getting loud out there. I'm going to be doing videos every day, I think, for 30 days, and hopefully that does not bother you. It's probably going to be pretty bad but casual content, so the type of thing that you can, like, put on in the background while you're sleeping, which is good. I actually only sleep to YouTube videos, and then I have to, like, rewatch them. So yeah, last night I actually watched Jenny Nicholson's Beastly video like 3 times, and I have to watch it again because I didn't get to actually see the content, and I like her videos. This is the perfect video to watch while you sleep because I don't have anything particularly, like, interesting to say, but I feel like I need to learn how to talk to a camera in more of a natural and friendly way. And also, I forgot to tell this one story about someone who sent me a 10-minute voice memo about why his mom is a bad person and never bothered to ask me about my family or, like, if I have siblings or if I get along with my family. But for some reason he was like, yeah, you need to hear about, like, my family drama and, like, why I hate my mom, but I don't want to hear about yours. Yeah, it just sucks. So that's pretty much all I have for today. I have been filming for like 50 minutes now. It's getting hot. Like, I'm getting dewier and dewier, and that is actually sweat. I'm not a Glossier girl. I am just sweaty. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna go message some guys on dating apps because I want to have a conversation about me. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you get the love you deserve. Talk to you later. Bye.